Alright guys, welcome to your 66th C++ tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a custom file structure to work with your program, because whenever you build your own custom program you just don't want to use any file format, plain off the shelf format. You want to build a custom file structure so that it makes it easier for your program to work with your files. And I know you guys don't know what I'm talking about now, but trust me, you will by the end of this tutorial. So the first thing we need is an idea. Actually, before we get started, let's go ahead and say that we wanted to make a game like SimCity or whatever, where we had a bunch of different players or a bunch of different characters, and we wanted to store all the character information in a text file. Well, the first thing we need is, of course, a text file. So go ahead and put OF stream, and we'll just name it like the file. Good enough, I guess. And we'll just go ahead and create a file called players.text. Now remember, if this file already exists, then C++ is going to it's going to open that one. But if it doesn't exist yet, which it doesn't, let me go ahead and pull up my directory. See, no players.text. Since it doesn't exist already, C++ is going to automatically create one once it sees that it indeed does not exist. So let's go ahead and the first thing I want to give is we're going to be making a program basically to enter the character information. Say we wanted to build a bunch of characters ourselves. Well, let's go ahead and give the user a nice little prompt about what we want them to do. So cout, not mm, close, but not close. We'll just go ahead and put enter players ID, and then maybe they have a name for each player, and maybe they have like a bank account, money or something. Simple enough. And then go ahead and end that line. So this is just going to print some text out on the screen telling them what to do. So we're going to enter a number, a name, and another number. The first one's going to be the ID number. The second one's going to be their name, like Bucky. And third one's going to be like $48 in their bank account. Something stupid like that. And now what we want to do is we're going to be working with something called an end of file marker. Now before I go on, let me say this. Every file on your computer, when C++ opens it, it's going to look for the end of file marker. This is pretty much the end of your file. No weird complicated explanation. It's just a little symbol that goes at the end of your file to tell C++, how long your file is. Whenever it's reading your file and it gets to the end of file marker, that's where it knows where to stop. It's pretty much telling C++ where the end of your file is. Simple as that. Now, what we can do is we can explicitly enter an end of file indicator, and I'll show you guys how to do this later on, but basically whenever you hit control, hold down control and hit Z on your keyboard, if you're working with Windows, this inputs an end of file marker. And I know it's kind of a weird way to do things, because if there was an end of file marker button on your keyboard, it would be a lot easier to see, but if you're working with Windows, then hold down control and hit Z, and this puts the end of file marker in. So we'll just go ahead, and they probably don't know that, so we'll just go ahead and press Control plus Z to quit the program and stop inserting characters or whatever. So go ahead and end that line. And I know that's a little weird, but we need it or this program would just keep running forever. So now we need three variables that are temporarily going to store this information. Just go ahead, we'll make the ID number an integer, and we'll make the name a string, of course, and we'll put the money, since it has decimal points like $48.87, we'll go ahead and make it a double. So we have three variables: ID number, name, and money. Now what we need to do is we, the user, want to be allowed to enter this information whenever this program is running. So let's go ahead and make a while loop, because we really don't know how many characters the user is going to enter. And here's what we do. Remember, anytime you want to get information from the keyboard, aka from the user, you use CIN. And then the first thing they type in is going to be stored in the variable ID number. The second thing they type in is going to be the character's name. And the third thing they type in is how much money the character has. So the user is going to be able to type characters information, maybe 5 different character informations, and then we want to be able to store it in a file. So this basically, the user is going to be able to type in as many characters as they want. So this loop is going to be true as long as they don't get to the end of the file. And how do you know you get to the end of the file? Because of this weird control Z thing. So basically, whenever the user enters information, we now have an ID number, a name, and some amount of money. So now the only thing we want to do is we want to insert it into the file. So of course, remember, just like before in the last tutorials, we write the file object, and this is pretty much a synonym for players.txt. So they can be used interchangeably. Well, they can't be used interchangeably, but whenever you're looking at it, just assume that this means players.txt. So anything we inserted just gets directly inserted into the file players.txt, because that's the file associated with this object right here. So the first thing we want to insert is the ID number, and then just so it looks nice and pretty, just go ahead and insert a little space. And then the next thing, what did we have? A name, and then a little space after that. And then the last thing is money and line. And let me make sure I got number, space, name, space, money, and line. Okay, so it's good to go. So basically, well, let's go ahead and run this program and see what we get. It says, alright, enter player's ID, name, and money. So let's go ahead and make a couple players for this, SimCity social community game, whatever the heck game we're making. So the player's ID is going to be like 1, and the player's name is going to be like Bucky, and the money I have is like $65.47. Go ahead and press enter, add another character. The ID is 2, the name is Sarah, and she has $43.21. And let's make one more. 3 is Sophie, and she has $2.54. Now let's go ahead and press, well, we can just go ahead and press Control Z right now. And sometimes you have to press enter, and then your program is going to stop. Sometimes you can just hit Control Z and it's the end of file. Sometimes you need to hit Control Z enter. So anyways, I hit Control Z, that signified the end of the file. And of course, when I got to the end of my file, I couldn't insert anything else. So my program quit, as you can see right here. So now, if you go up to your documents, you can see that you have a text file created called players.txt. So let's go ahead and click that, and you can see at the, well, basically it inputted exactly as we inputted. Does that make sense? No? Well, too bad. You can see that it wrote to the file exactly what we wanted to, exactly in the format that we wanted to. So basically what was going on is this. We first created a file that we opened, and whenever we open it, we have access to that file. We then gave the user a nice little prompt, showed them how to input the data, and we then made 3 variables so we could temporarily store the data. Now, the user was allowed to fill in the variables ID number, name, and money. And whenever we had those variables populated with values, we just stored them in a file using whatever format we wanted to. And the format we wanted to store them in was the ID number, space, name, space, money. And then once you got one character or one player inserted, just go to the next line and do it again. So that way on the next line, it was ID number, name, money. On the next line, ID number, name, money. So that is how you can have, a way of storing data into a file formatted how you want it. So you're saying, alright, why would I want to format it like this? Well, maybe you wouldn't, but whenever you know the structure of how your file is formatted, that way whenever we open the file to read all the information in, we know what format it's going to be in. So that's why you want to create custom file structures, because custom file structures make it easier for your program to work with files if they know where the data is going to be and also what type of data is going to be there. For example, in our game, we knew that that first row was always ID numbers, that second row was always names, and that third row was always, and by the way, row, I mean column, that third column was always the amount of money. So, I mean, it just makes it really easy to program this way. So that's all I have for you guys for this tutorial. I know this was kind of weird with this Control Z thing. I probably should have made it without it, but hey, you guys learned something new, I guess. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.